Welcome back, everybody. This is the Mad Salvi coming to you with the Noob Guide to Armored Core 6. We are going to take a look at it and see if I will be able to learn anything in this. Thank you so much. Let's take a look.
First, let's get to grips with the controls. This guide will assume that you're using the default Type A control assignment with a controller, but mouse and keyboard can be an effective means of control as well. If you're playing on PC, be sure to open up the settings menu and scroll down to input device settings, where you can ensure that your button.
Now, I don't recommend PC for these types of games because, well, while PC does, keyboard and mouse does give you a lot of ability to modify everything and have everything exactly the way you want it, it's just so much easier, especially for me, to use controls, to use the controller on this.
Button prompts are being properly displayed for the input you're using. And while you're here in the settings, I also like to go into the camera settings and turn camera speed to 10. That's because turning quickly to face enemies is very important in Armored Core, as you'll soon learn. So you've just crash landed on Rubicon, and your AC has taken damage. Its AP, which stands for armor points, can be viewed here to instantly...
Alright, so, yes, whenever it comes to any of these games, I try to turn my sensitivity all the way up, which I agree with what he's saying. Turn your sensitivity up as much as you can.
Repair your AC, press up.
Okay, so that's good to know.
This consumes a repair charge, seen here, which instantly heals your AC for a flat 4,000 AP.
Oh, okay.
The bar underneath shows the delay before you can repair your AC again, and it's important to note that you can't repair your AC while firing your weaponry.
Ah,
you should keep your AC
okay.
topped up on health, especially if you think an enemy is capable of extremely damaging attacks, which...
Well, I mean, I'm gonna be dying very
down on the
much.
D-pad to scan your environment. Again, the bar below shows how often you can use this. So there's no
Down on the
nearby,
D-pad
but
to scan.
If there was, you could fire them with any of one of your 4 weapon slots. Right now, we're equipped with an assault rifle in our right hand, missile launcher on our right shoulder, and a laser blade on our left arm.
Oh, okay.
Back triggers activate your left and right arm
okay,
weapons, and
okay.
your front bumpers activate your left and right back weapons.
I'm gonna
This
forget
has
that.
ammunition
I'm
fits
absolutely
in the
gonna
bottom
forget
right
that.
of the screen, and how your current magazine capacity is affected here, around your lock-on. Let's get moving. So
And I think
when
they
at a
do
stance,
charge you
your
per
glide
ammo
boosters
on
are
this one, too.
disengaged and you can walk. However, you'll often want to press circle or B to manually engage your boosters while grounded, as that is a superior form of movement, especially in combat. Note that these glide boosters automatically toggle on when you quick boost as well. The indicator for glide boosting
Oh, okay.
is seen
So
here.
quick boost is gonna be square or X, depending on if you're using the Xbox controller or if you're using the PS3 controller, PS4, whatever controller. PS5.
To reach our objective marker, which is shown here. Pressing X or A while grounded will cause you to jump with your leg part.
Okay.
And after that jump,
All of those are going to be
X or A
confusing
will
as hell
cause
to
you
me, honestly.
ascend with your boosters. Ascending requires energy, which is being depleted here. Energy consumption is paused while descending, and your energy recovers really rapidly while you're grounded.
Okay.
If you fully deplete your energy bar, it will go red, and energy will not recover for a short duration, so you should generally try to avoid fully depleting
Oh, okay,
your
okay.
energy bar if
See,
possible.
that's one thing that I always end up doing. I just, since I freak out at these games, I would end up freaking depleting that real quick.
Heat of combat, keep an ear out for warning sounds as well. The warning for loss of energy is just one sound that can give you crucial information.
Pay attention to all the sounds,
in this
basically.
game, lock-on is automatic when you're in range, and the enemy closest to the center of your screen will be locked onto. By moving the camera, you can target other enemies by aligning them more closely with the center of your screen. This method of targeting is particularly useful when taking out multiple enemies, as you might want some to have priority over others. Our assault rifle
That's
is on
good,
right
yeah,
arm, so we
because
fire
there's
with
some that are
R2
stronger
take
that
them
are
out.
going to be doing more damage.
However, in many cases, you might prefer a more automatic hard lock, and for this, you can enable target assist by pressing R3. In this mode, 4 crescents appear here, and now, when an enemy is in your sights, you'll be hard locked onto them. In this state, your tracking accuracy is slightly reduced, so your shots might not hit your target as effectively as if you didn't have target
That's more
assist
like when you're
on.
hitting a boss,
This way,
I think.
your enemy is kept
I
in
think
your
more than
sights at
anything.
all times, and you don't need to touch the thumbstick at all, really. This is particularly useful when you're fighting against a single difficult enemy.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah,
if that
that's
enemy
what I was
has
saying.
dangerous attacks that require you to focus on dodging and flight instead.
Yep.
One thing to note in the center of our lock-on is this yellow crescent. That's your missile marker, and the number represents how many missiles are chambered and ready to be fired at this enemy.
Oh,
Only
okay.
try and fire your missiles once the yellow bar has fully loaded, like this. When the number appears, you're fully locked on. And while you can fire the missiles before this, they won't track very well at all.
Oh,
Our
okay,
missiles
so you
are
have to-
attached
dang
our
it.
right back,
That means you
so
really
the
have to
marker
be
appears
mobile.
in the top right, and we can press R1 to fire them. But if you're against multiple enemies, you might not want to fire all your missiles at just one enemy. Instead, what you can do is hold down the fire button, like this. This will acquire a multi-lock and split your missiles evenly to all enemies within your
okay.
field of view. Lastly,
It's
our starter
like
build
I'm
is
telling
equipped
you,
with a
on
laser
keyboard
blade
this
on
would
its
be
left
totally
hand.
annoying.
This means we can tap L2 to swing it, and it will boost us towards any locked enemy as far as our energy will allow. All melee weapons can have their input held for a charge attack, and this one in particular can be swung twice if L2 is pressed in succession. After attacks, the blade also overheats, meaning it can't be used for a short period of time.
Oh,
For every
gee,
encounter,
they
you should be
really
finding a
are.
way to
It's
maximize
freaking
efficient
Elden
use of
Ring all
every
over
weapon
again.
you have equipped. With this build, we use multi-lock missiles to initiate. We fire the assault rifle when we're in range, and we use the blade whenever we spy a safe opening.
Okay. See, See, that is a good thing
So
to do, but it's not going to be easy for me to do.
Ammo. Many weapons only reload automatically when their magazines are empty, so you should make a habit of manually reloading to ensure that you're topped up between fights. Manual reloads can be done by holding down triangle or Y and tapping the fire button.
Ah, okay, so reload is triangle or Y and L2 or R2.
This is called an assault boost. You perform this by pressing L3, and it propels you towards wherever you're aiming. Pull back on the left stick to cancel the assault boost like this, or tap the ascend button, X or A, to cancel your boost while maintaining.
Fuck, I'm not gonna be able to remember that!
Like this.
The hell, dude?
Assault boosts are by far the most efficient way to move around the map. However, where this ability really excels is in combat. Assault boost is just an excellent tool for closing
muscle memory.
Enemies.
Muscle memory is what you're gonna need. You're gonna need a lot of muscle memory for this.
You can even dodge left or right during it by tapping the left analog stick, like this. But what makes Assault Boost truly powerful is that you can attack as you Assault Boost, and many attacks done during this time deal increased impact damage, meaning they'll be more effective at breaking enemy guards.
Oh, okay, that's a little
receive during
plus
this time is also
for doing it during Assault Boost.
You can Assault Boost into many enemies with reckless abandon. So let's show this off against the next two enemies who have shields. By combining our Assault Boost with a blade attack, we can absolutely obliterate them. But let's keep the second one alive for now. See the 2 meters above the enemy?
Okay.
This one shows the enemy's health, and the second one shows the enemy's ACS strain. ACS strain builds up orange like this whenever you attack, and when the bar fills fully, the enemy's guard is broken. In this state of ACS overload, enemies take direct damage, which means any attack you unleash in this moment is far more damaging to the enemy's health. Naturally, enemies can do impact damage to you as well, and your ACS strain will build up here above your energy bar. If an enemy attack
makes it hard for everything.
Your AC will pause like this, and you'll take additional damage as well.
So you get stun locked when you get the ACS damage.
Periods where you don't take any damage. After a few seconds of no damage, ACS strain will diminish. And this is where the environment often comes in handy. It's something you can use to block attacks, giving you time to reduce ACS strain
bunch of different
and often
additions to
reload
difficulty.
as well. But notice how my assault rifle isn't doing much impact damage to this shielded enemy. That's because some weapons are better at building up impacts than others. If I use my explosive missiles or my blade, for example, then I can easily break the guard of the target. The first true test of your skills will be this, the AH-12HC helicopter. In this fight, you'll have to use everything you've learned, plus another skill as well, the quick boost. By tapping square or X, you'll be able to dash for additional avoidance. Noting that in Armored Core, there are no invincibility frames, however. So think of quick boost as a way to quickly get distance away from an enemy's attack, rather than an ability that you use to
So that one you pretty much have to stay real close,
quick boost
because
is particularly useful while target assist is enabled, because your thumb is free to tap the boost button, and I highly recommend putting target assist on while you're fighting most boss battles, because it's here that you're going to have to pay special attention to enemy movements and attacks. So
just use your blade.
I'm going to try and accomplish a few things. I'm going to use target assist to hard lock onto the enemy, and I'm going to constantly fire my assault rifle and missiles pretty much as soon as they're available. I'm also going to do my best to assault boost in and use my blade on cooldown. This is my main damage dealer in this fight. And when I return to the ground to recover energy, I'm going to do my best to stay close. I'm not going to remember any of this. I'm
just going to let you know, I'm not going to remember any of this.
If the enemy has distance on me, I'm going to use the environment to my advantage. This is particularly useful when you see warning signs like this, or if you just need a moment to reload or repair or reposition. Coming up with a battle plan for bosses can really work wonders in this game, so with this, I should just naturally come out on top. Let's put this plan to the test.
Okay. So he's doing the things he said. He's hitting them with the direct, energy weapon, the energy sword. He's doing side damage with his missiles and his regular rifle. He has it locked in. He's making sure that his health is not going down, as well as... Damn, that was actually very quick. That was a lot quicker than I would do. So with bosses like this, you can go a lot closer.
After the mission is complete, you'll obtain your reward. COAM credits minus the ammunition and repair costs that were incurred during your successful mission attempt. After each mission, you'll return to this, the garage. Here, players can have some downtime.
I love this. This reminds me of Mech Warrior.
Missions. Right now, we've just finished mission 1, and the parts shop isn't open to us, so let's check out the sortie menu instead. Here, you can and should do a few things. First, head to the training simulator. Here, you can defeat some basic enemies and learn some invaluable lessons about the game. If you ever need to review these lessons, then you can always display the license menu in the garage by pressing triangle or Y, then navigate.
They have licenses in these. Okay, that's good. I'm probably gonna need to do training, but it's not fun to do training in live.
I highly recommend completing new training missions as soon as they become available, and do your best to read all the information as well. If you want to quickly test out any of these new parts, then you can press the right bumper during assembly to initiate an AC test, or you can just head down into the AC test area from your sortie menu. Once you're here, press the pause button. It's in this menu that you can spawn a variety of enemies to practice against, without having to worry about incurring costs from going out on missions. You can also switch out parts in assembly, and they'll appear here on your AC immediately.
That is a very good way of testing it. I like that. I like that you can test beforehand, like in a virtual environment. I do love that.
In many cases, it might be beneficial for you to just go out on actual missions instead and test out your weapons in the field. For this purpose, there's the replay missions option. If you're confident in your abilities, then by replaying missions, you stand to gain additional credits or a higher rank as well. And what's more, some missions have optional objectives or parts within them, so go out there, get some more practice, earn some more credits, and see what you can find. But when you feel ready, you can sortie onto your next mission and progress in the game. Oftentimes you'll have a choice of mission, and you might want to read the mission descriptions and evaluate how many credits are on offer as well, because you'll need those credits soon enough, because after mission 2, the parts shop becomes available. Here you can buy new parts or sell your old parts, and as you complete more missions, new parts will quickly become available in the shop.
I mean, I'm pretty sure there's some missions where certain parts are going to work out better.
Seen here, and buying parts will show you a reduction of your available funds. But the most important takeaway is this: don't be afraid of buying new parts and experimenting here. It's absolutely essential that you get a feel for different parts, and most importantly, parts can always be sold back to the shop for the same price you purchased them at. So nothing is ever really lost in this process.
Wow, that's really good. There's no real loss
of constructing an AC, but first I want to say that there's one more way to acquire AC parts, and that's through a process called log hunt. After mission 3, you'll be able to participate in this log hunt program. This means that every time you defeat an enemy in a mission that is marked with this battle log icon, you'll gain progress towards your next hunter rank, at which point all mines will reward you with new parts. Battle logs can either be bronze, silver, gold,
They made this very
worth more than the last. So keep a lookout for these markers in your missions, and if you do miss one, consider replaying that mission to claim it. Battle log status will be shown in your replay mission screen here and here, so if it ever says pending,
there's a lot of aspects of this. There's a lot of
find that battle log.
You can go pretty in depth in this.
Before long, you should start feeling a lot more confident in your piloting. For me, this happened around Mission 5, which was a short mission that required that I take out a Dafeng student pilot. This mission was over fast, it wasn't too hard, and it netted me a lot of credits, so I replayed this over and over for a while. These frantic AC fights are great practice, so if you're struggling, I highly recommend you replay this mission. Challenge yourself
mission
to
5.
destroy
I gotta
the
remember
AC
that.
as quickly
Mission
as possible,
5.
claim your credits,
So remember that,
go
people.
out
Mission
and buy
5.
a new part to test, and then go back in and take out the enemy AC again. If you get an S rank, you are doing really well in this mission. Before long, you'll be feeling much more confident with the flow of the game,
and it's a good way to
after a
test
few
parts,
missions,
because if you
you'll
already
have
know how to
enough
beat them, you
credits
just
to
get your
refine
parts.
AC into something that you want to pilot. And
Yes!
the process of refining a build is a huge part
Refining
of the
that build just for you.
A special sort of satisfaction that comes with putting together builds to perfectly suit your needs. So let's head into AC design
and your fight style.
But
some people like being tanks, some people like being extremely mobile.
Remember, you'll rarely find parts that are objectively better than others in every way. Instead, parts are balanced by being strong in some areas and weaker in others.
As all things should be, of course.
That means that stat is an improvement over the stat of the part that you currently have equipped in that slot. If it's red, then that stat is a downgrade. It's up to you to decide what stats you value the most for your build, and that's what makes this build process so fun and personal. 12 parts make up an AC's assembly: 4 unit parts, 4 frame parts, 3 inner parts, and an expansion slot. When you arrive in the AC design screen, you can cycle through these 12 categories horizontally with your left and right bumpers, and in the column below, you'll be able to select the specific part that you'd like to equip from that category. Each part has a name, seen here, a weapon class, like handgun or bazooka, seen here, and a written description that tells you a bit about the weapon. Descriptions are often great at describing what's unique about the weapon at a glance, without you needing to go deeper into stats to figure it out. For example, this bazooka description tells us that it deals heavy impact damage, and if we go back into the parts specs section, we can confirm that. This number is in blue and has an upwards arrow, signifying that this weapon indeed does do a lot more impact damage than the assault rifle we currently have equipped. What we currently have equipped is actually all the way down at the lower end.
But the rounds are a lot less,
as shown by this little grey marker. These 5 specs are the simplified specs of each part.
It's a
lot
heavier.
Each part's detailed specs,
and it does have a larger load on
expanded list. And if you need any help figuring out what all these specs do, then you can press the help button, select contextual help, and then cycle through for a more detailed description of each spec. If this expanded stat screen is overwhelming to you, don't worry too much. Beginners can absolutely get by with just the simplified stat screen. So for now, let's go back to that simplified.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, that's all you really need. You don't need anything
weight, and they all have an EN load. The combined weight and EN load total of all your currently equipped parts can be seen on the right here, in a section that shows your AC's combined spec total. Again, you can toggle an expanded view of this if you like, but the simplified version is more than enough for now. And
I mean,
even then,
for
what
in
you
general,
really want to keep an eye
I'm
on
not
most is your current load
doing
and
the
your
regular
current EN load. This little grey marker shows what your current load is at. This red or blue bar shows how the currently selected part will affect your current load, and the grey marker with an arrow shows the maximum load your AC can handle. We'll talk
never
about
go above
weight limits
that.
a little
Then you're
bit
going to be
later,
doing heavy
but for
rolling.
now, just remember that you generally do not want to ever go beyond this arrowed marker. Weight and EN load are the two limiting factors that help to offset the strength of parts. If a part is heavier with a high EN load, that means the part will generally be more powerful, but it also means that it will be more difficult for your AC to carry it. If
so you're going to be less mobile.
Low EN load, then the part might be somewhat weaker, but your AC will more easily be able to equip it. The power
if you don't get hit, you don't have to worry about armor.
By the main specs situated above their weight and EN load.
That's pretty much it.
These specs are typically attack power, impact.
I'm not good
attack power
at avoiding things. I might do higher EN load.
Essentially, it's how much damage you can do to an enemy's health bar. Impact determines the damage that you do to an enemy's ACS strain. The higher your impact, the more easily you'll be able to stagger an enemy and open them up to direct damage. Total rounds are simply the total amount of ammunition that you're bringing into a mission with that weapon. This can be relevant, as if you run out of ammunition, you'll no longer be able to fire the weapon.
And you'll throw it away.
The depleted weapon will be purged from your AC, and you'll be forced to fight with your fists instead, which
fisticuffs!
In addition to these specs, weapon parts also have some icons that tell you more about the weapon at a glance. For example, the 4th slot will tell you if this weapon affects a particular part of the enemy craft. The napalm launcher, for example, can inflict a status effect that will cause the enemy to be staggered more easily. The 3rd icon represents whether a weapon is single shot or whether it needs to be reloaded, or if it doesn't need to be reloaded and will overheat instead. If a weapon can overheat,
I'm gonna look into those things too.
Can be seen accumulating here around your lock-on. If possible, keep an eye on this bar and space out your shots to allow your weapon to cool.
Yeah, you just never want it to overheat because you're going to get a penalty for that.
If a weapon is in an overheat state, then you can't fire it and you just have to wait for it to cool down.
Yeah, and same thing with Mech Warrior. Mech Warrior did that in the past too.
Up here as well, and the first icon tells you the damage type of the weapon. So there are 3 types of damage that your weapons can deal in Armored Core 6: kinetic, energy, and explosive. First, let's talk kinetic damage. This is damage done with physical projectiles.
Basically bullets.
Weapons like the assault rifle, the machine gun, or shotguns. Kinetic weapons are typically better at close or medium range. They typically fire quite fast, and they generally also have a higher direct hit adjustment spec on average, which means they're a great option for dealing damage while an enemy is staggered. The second type of damage is energy damage. This is further split into 3 more types: laser, plasma, and pulse. Laser weapons fire straight blue beams, plasma weapons are purple and create an AoE explosion on impact,
very nice.
Pulse weaponry fire bubble beams that are great at wearing down pulse defenses. On average, though, energy weapons fire slowly and are typically better at long range with high attack power but low impact. So use these to capitalize on an enemy's broken guard. Don't always rely on them to break it. The third type of damage
I'm not going to remember that shit.
Typically dealt by bazookas, grenades, and missiles. Explosive projectiles often deal the same amount of damage regardless of range, and often create an AoE explosion to boot. What's more, weapons with explosive damage have
I'm a noob. I'm not going to remember this shit.
Specs. However, this is offset by slow firing rates and a lot of recoil. They're a great tool to have for breaking open enemy guards, though, and most builds are well served by having at least one explosive weapon equipped. So those are the 3 types of damage, but naturally there are 3 types of defense as well. If you're stuck on a boss or enemies, consider what their defensive stats or weaknesses might be.
That would be me.
With different types of weapons. Before I move on from weapons, I'd like to mention melee weapons and pulse shields as well.
Yes, melee
weapons
weapons
can only be equipped to the left arm slot, and pulse shields can only be equipped to the left back slot. We've talked about melee weapons already, but note that they have a main spec called consecutive hits, which lets you know how many times the melee weapon can strike with repeated taps of L2. As for pulse shields, I probably wouldn't recommend them for a beginner, as using them properly requires quite a bit of timing and finesse. That said, if you do want to equip one, note that the main specs
so the pulse shields is basically like your parry.
Damage mitigation, impact dampening, and deployment range. Damage mitigation is essentially the percentage of damage that the shield will block while it's active. Impact dampening is a mechanic that determines your initial guard window. When shields are deployed, there's this little brief moment where you can block more incoming damage. So blocks should be timed ideally to correspond with incoming attacks. But be aware that this will overheat your shield more quickly, so you can't just repeatedly tap it too many times. Lastly, deployment range is a value that determines the size of your shield. Next, we have the 4 frame parts of the AC. Let's start with the head. Head parts are unique in that they determine the power and range of your scan function. Beyond that, the main specs are AP, attitude stability, and system recovery.
God damn, that's a lot of stuff to remember.
Your health, basically. Attitude stability contributes towards the maximum amount of stagger damage that you can absorb, so a higher value means it'll be harder for an enemy to strain your attitude control system and knock you off.
I got a lot of attitude.
And finally, system recovery.
Remember that, I got a lot of attitude.
You will recover from status effects inflicted by things like fire or electricity.
ACS,
Next, the core part. This is the part that will typically contribute the most AP and attitude to your build. It's also typically the heaviest. Uniquely though, the core part also has a stat called generator output adjusts, which is a value that determines how effective your generator part will be at fulfilling your energy needs. But we'll get into energy and generators a little bit later.
We have to deal with that stuff too. Damn it.
Arms give AP, of course, but the unique specs determine your arm load limits and your level of firearm specialization. Arm load limits can come into play when your arms are carrying extremely heavy weaponry. If you're holding weapons that are too heavy, you'll get this warning on the right, which means you'll need to equip lighter weaponry or choose arms with a heavier load limit. Finally,
but then you're less mobile. That's the thing. Everything's a balance.
If you find your shots are missing your target a lot, consider selecting arm parts that have higher firearm specialization. Finally, and most importantly, we have the leg part, and
that
this
depends
might just be the
your
most
build.
important part in your AC's entire assembly. Let me explain. So, leg parts contribute AP and attitude stability like all your other frame parts, but they're unique in that they are responsible for carrying the combined weight of everything else on your AC. Thus, their most defining spec is this, their load limit. This value changes this arrowed marker over here, which determines the maximum weight you can carry, and it's the marker that you never want to exceed when building your AC. Generally, the closer you can get your AC to this load limit, the better. Though, I will point out that the further back you go from this marker, the lighter your AC will be, and it will grant a slight increase to your boost speed as a result.
Yeah, because it has less stuff to load on it. Let's load on it, yeah.
That's their type. There are 4 types of leg: bipedal, reverse jointed, quadruped legs, and
quadruped legs is awesome. Quadruped legs look awesome.
But
I don't know,
the type
something
of
about
leg
that.
you choose that plays a massive part in how your AC will control. Biped legs are your jack of all trades. They're certainly a safe bet for new players, and they're all you have
jack of all
access to
trades,
at the
master of
beginning
none.
the game. Before long, though, you'll unlock these reverse joints. Reverse joints are still bipedal legs, but they're unique in that they have unparalleled jumping abilities. In gameplay, this means that your jump will propel you further into the air, and it also means that your quick boost will fling you further to the side while you're grounded. Consider reverse joints if you need to be more airborne or more evasive, but note that you'll generally be more easy to knock off balance if you're ever hit with these legs. One of the drawbacks to all bipedal legs is that they don't absorb recoil whenever you fire heavy weaponry or burst weaponry. Notice how I'm pausing in the air when I fire these sorts of weapons? That's because of my biped legs, and while it's absolutely still viable to use weapons like these with biped legs, this pause can definitely get you destroyed if you fire at the wrong moment.
However, shit, that's gonna be me.
Is not as impactful with the other 2 classes of leg, which are quadruped and tank treads. Quadruped and tank treads can absorb recoil from heavy or burst weaponry, allowing you to fire them while you're moving.
Dude, you look like a fucking spider.
It's worth noting that
Holy
quads
shit.
do slow down slightly while firing, while tanks are uninhibited completely. This ability to hover is what sets quadrupeds apart from tank treads. Once you're airborne, all you need to do is press the jump button again with X or A to hover in the air.
Oh, nice.
Pressing jump a 3rd time will drop you out of this mode. While you're in it, you can still dodge and fire your weaponry, though you are slow, and you'll need to return to the ground to make substantial energy gains. The biggest advantage of flying like this is for maintaining additional range from enemies, and just in the fact that it often gives you a straight line of sight at enemies without any environmental clutter getting in your way. It's also amazing against certain enemies that don't have attacks that can reach you, so consider keeping a set of quadruped legs on hand in case you need them. They can be a really powerful situational tool to have at your disposal.
Basically, you can use the legs depending on the level.
Treads, on the other hand, your booster part is actually removed from your AC assembly entirely, as the tank treads come with their own inbuilt boosters. With some exceptions, flight isn't typically a strong point of most tank treads. Tank treads are more about grounded movement, and operating these really feels like driving a wheeled vehicle, where the direction you're facing really matters. That said, you can still quick boost while grounded, which will instantly change your direction if needed and propel you into a temporary drift state. Slower treads will also benefit from making frequent use of the boost ability to cover distance. At the end of the day, though, tank treads are really designed to carry an enormous load, and it's generally a good idea to load your tank with the most devastating weaponry and the most resilient.
Well, yeah, if you're going to use a tank, you're going to go heavy.
The next 3 parts for your AC are its inside parts, which consist of the booster, the FCS, and the generator. Booster parts are most defined by their thrust, their upward thrust, and their quick boost thrust specs. Your basic thrust value is what determines your default speed while gliding and flying. An AC with a high default speed will naturally be quite avoidant without you needing to take any particularly evasive maneuvers, which you might consider useful if you want to focus on things other than dodging. Your upward thrust is exactly what it sounds like. This value determines how powerful your upward trajectory will be. Being in the air can help you to avoid explosions on the ground, and it also allows you to get a better
Holy
angle
crap, that's a big guy.
So
that is a big dude.
This spec especially relevant for certain encounters.
Yeah,
there's your quick boost thrust, which determines how fast your thrust will be when your quick boost is activated. This
that's very mobile.
shows
Holy
a lot
crap.
more quick boost values that you should also consider, but generally you should only select for quick boost thrust if you find yourself facing an enemy that you think requires a lot of manual dodging. Another important stat is hidden in the expanded stat screen, and that's Quick Boost Reload Ideal Weight spec. If your total weight rises above this value, your AC will have its Quick Boost reload time progressively penalized.
Oh shit, so they penalize you for weight too.
Energy. So naturally we should talk about the generator next, because
sense,
it's this part that determines the nature of your energy bar. A generator's main specs are its EN capacity, its EN recharge, and its supply recovery.
Get a good generator pretty much.
Simply determines the maximum amount of energy in your
not
energy
too
bar.
heavy, because then you won't be able to move.
Higher EN capacity will be able to perform more actions before this bar is depleted. However, it's also important to take into account your EN recharge rate, as this determines how quickly your energy will recover. An AC with a high recharge rate will be able to spend less time recovering and more time doing actions. Then there's supply recovery, which determines how quickly your generator will recover if you fully deplete your energy bar. Ideally, you'll never fully deplete your energy bar, but sometimes that's necessary.
If you play correctly, you'll never
high supply recovery will get you back to the action without being punished too hard. Finally, unlike every other part, the generator doesn't actually have an EN load. It has an EN output, so it's the generator that's responsible for supporting the EN load of the rest of your system. Your total EN load can be seen here on the right, and the grey marker represents the combined EN load of all your currently equipped parts. That red or blue bar determines how that EN load will change depending on the part you have selected, and the arrowed marker is your maximum EN capacity, as defined by your generator's
as you mentioned before,
stat.
Of course.
Basically, if you're exceeding your maximum EN load, you'll see red here, and that means you either need to switch to more energy efficient parts or choose a generator with a higher EN output.
Yes.
The last part we need to go over is the FCS part, which is the biggest contributor to your aiming accuracy. You might have noticed when you lock on to enemies, your aim is actually determined by this little reticle within the lock-on. When it's red, you're considered in range, and your non-homing projectiles should hit their mark. Keyword there, though, is should, because this little reticle isn't always on point. Sometimes it will waver. Sometimes it will lag behind, and it's this behavior that is determined by the FCS part. FCS parts have three main specs. They're close range assist, medium range assist, and long range assist. Close range assist determines how good your reticle will be at tracking enemies within the 130 meter range. Medium range determines how good tracking will be between 130 and 260 meters, and long range determines how good tracking will be beyond 260 meters. Pay special attention to distance markers during combat, and try to stay within the optimal range for your FCS and your weapon.
Absolutely.
Missile tracking
that's what you need to do.
From the FCS, but the FCS does determine how fast you can acquire a missile lock and how fast your multi-lock capabilities
so many things that you need
to
know.
This
Holy
is a factor
Jeebus.
to consider for your build, and that's the basics of everything in your assembly. And if it sounds like a lot, well, you're not wrong, but rest assured that it will start to make sense as you jump in.
It's one of those things that you have to actually be in it in order to understand it.